G'day, Wolf here. Hey, is there a list of essential science fiction reading that all sci-fi readers should have read? A canon, so to say? Well, stick around because that's what I'm looking at today. I recently read an article titled "The Benefits of a Book You Don't Like." Also read the response that was written to that, and basically they both agreed that for each field of endeavour, in order to be able to communicate more effectively with your colleagues, you both need to share a common experience and common text. So for me, when I studied theology, our key text was the Bible, the most precise translation of the Bible, and also we had to learn the languages in which it was originally written in. And then there were other works of various theologians and philosophers which you needed to be familiar with. If you weren't, you missed out on a lot. And it's the same with students for any other field of study. You cover a canon, you cover the essential basics, right? So this got me to thinking, is there a canon for science fiction readers? Does sci-fi have a canon? If you're a science fiction enthusiast, is there a list of books which we all should have read at least once in order to share a common experience or a common bond with each other? One that we can use to interrelate with each other. So, look, for example, the book Helix by Eric Brown is very similar to Larry Niven's Ringworld. You may not have heard of the author Eric Brown or his nicely done Helix novel, but at least you now have an idea of what to expect. If you loved Ringworld, you'll love Helix. Okay, so after thinking hard about this, I've come up with a short list of science fiction novels which I would consider canon. The list includes only books which I've read and books which I consider classics. And I'd be interested in knowing what you think. Here they are.
Okay, so first up we have Dune by Frank Herbert. Epic in its scope, with detailed world building, this book focuses on many topics that are still relevant today: political betrayal, ecological brinksmanship, and messianic deliverance. It won science fiction's highest awards, both the Hugo and the Nebula, and went on to sell more than 12 million copies during Herbert's lifetime. As recently as last year, it was named the top science fiction novel of all time in a Wired readers' poll. Dune takes place in a feudal society where noble families rule planets in an imperium presided over by the emperor. Computers and robots are banned, so it's quite different from many sci-fi novels, as humans expand their consciousness with the drug or the spice melange in order to fulfill those niches. This would be a great entry point into sci-fi for readers of George Martin's Song of Ice and Fire. Herbert's noble houses of Corino and Harkonnen are both just as scheming and backstabbing as the Lannisters or Boltons are of Westeros, whereas the noble house of Atreides are as honourable and chivalrous as the Starks. Number 2, Ringworld by Larry Niven. Another Hugo Award winner, Ringworld is arguably one of the most influential science fiction novels of the past 50 years. It has had a huge impact on our culture, and it has helped to generate a multi-billion-dollar industry. The Ringworld planet of the book's title is inspired the popular Xbox Halo game series, along with other books like Ian M. Banks' Culture series and Alistair Reynolds' House of Suns. This book introduces us to an artificial world of mind-boggling proportions that we need to explore. The Ringworld is similar to a Dyson sphere, but instead of enclosing the entire system, it's a huge ring-shaped planet that was engineered rather than occurred naturally. Instead of being a rock that orbits the Sun, the entire orbit is habitable. The Ringworld is approximately 3 million times the surface area of the Earth. It provides its own gravity by spinning, and it gets its energy from the star it orbits, and it has walls thousands of miles high at each rim to hold in the air. Our two human protagonists that are invited to visit and explore this world are thrown in with a lot of psycholic aliens, and you get a great tale of exploration. It's a great book for lovers of Star Trek. Number 3, Foundation by Isaac Asimov. In 1966, the original Foundation trilogy won a special Hugo for Best of All Time series, beating out the supposed shoo-in Lord of the Rings. This book has influenced artists like Douglas Adams and George Lucas. However, the book itself was inspired by Edward Gibbon's The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Psychohistorian Harry Seldon predicts the fall of the Galactic Empire, and if they continue on as they have been, there will be a dark age of about 30,000 years before the Second Empire arises. However, an alternate path allows for the intervening years to be shortened to only 1,000. To do this, Sheldon needs to collect the most intelligent minds to create a compendium of all human knowledge titled the Encyclopedia Galactica. This is a good introduction to sci-fi for those who like Tolstoy's War and Peace, and it's a much smaller book to boot. Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. A huge spaceship turns up at the edge of Earth's solar system. Initially, it's so large that it's thought to be a meteor and dubbed Rama. Soon they realise it's actually a cylindrical spacecraft, 54 kilometres long, 20 kilometres in diameter. Naturally, everyone on Earth gets excited, and they send the nearest spaceship to investigate. It turns out to be a self-contained world turned inside out, with a sea that arches above the explorer's head, apparent cities dotted all around the inner circumference, and lighting provided by giant trenches in the walls. What follows is a lean and straightforward exploration of what lies within the cylinder, the Rama. Number 5, The Forever War by Joe Haldeman. Another Hugo Award winner, this book, written in 1974, is described by the author as mainly about war, about soldiers, and about the reasons we think we need them. The novel's hero, William Mandela, becomes one of the first batch of recruits sent into the far reaches of space to do battle with a race called the Taurians. For him, it's only a 2-year tour, but because of relativity or the fact that he's been travelling near the speed of light, a full decade has passed on Earth. He finds he can't fit in. Upon arrival home, he finds culture has changed, it's too violent, it's too many customs have changed. So he enlists for another tour of duty, which accentuates the problem. As the world he left behind changes over the millennium, he grapples with the reasons of who and what he is fighting for anymore. And finally, number 6, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. This story is most famous for its comedic use of the number 42, a manically depressed robot, and various catchphrases including the popular meme, "Don't panic." What Terry Pratchett's Discworld novels did for fantasy, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy does for science fiction. It gives it a sense of humour, it pokes fun at all the science fiction themes, and turns them on their heads. It's a book unique in its own right. Now, there's some debate as to whether The Hitchhiker's Guide is actually science fiction, as Adams spent a period writing for Doctor Who, but he also wrote for Monty Python's Flying Circus, and in many ways The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has far more in common with Monty Python than it does Doctor Who. However, if you have someone who is new to sci-fi, this may be the entry point for them.
Okay, so there you go. There were plenty that I would have liked to have added, but I think this list can be used as a basis for a good classical sci-fi canon. Well, what do you think? Are there others that you think should have been in the list? I'm sure there are. What about a more modern list of essential science fiction novels? Look, please leave a comment and let me know your thoughts and recommendations, because I'd really love to start a discussion on this one. And, of course, I'm always looking for a good book. So don't forget to visit my website, the link's in the description box below. Hit the like button if you found this informative, and until next time, thanks for visiting this dusty corner of the internet. And I'm sure there are. But let's have a look. Here's seven